IVM.
Paper planes and paper boats, won't you come and carry me home? Little girl across the street, come and build some sandcastles with me. Dirty stains from summer rains, running through those hidden lanes. Bring me out of this cage when longing for the good old days. Let's take a step back to the time when we thought fairy tales were real. Let's paint our eyes with pastel colors so that everything seems so real. So why can't we just take things slow? And why is there a need to go? So carry me home. Paper planes and paper boats, won't you come and carry me home? Well, just in case you're wondering, these are beautiful lyrics written by a genius, a music genius. And this comes from an album and a song called Carry Me Home. And this is from Kamaskshi Khanna's own album. I have with me in the studio a music genius, like I mentioned, who uses her voice to create magic through different types of sounds. This is your host in those style on Beyond Cliché, and joining me today on the virtual studio is Kamaskshi Khanna. Hi Kamakshi, how are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And that was very sweet and very musical. I felt like you were singing the lyrics. It was really nice.
You know, the reason I kind of chose that particular lyrics of yours, or the song of yours, is because I realized that you found your home with music, you know.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Your songs have a reflection of your own life, experiences, epiphanies, and there's just so much to explore. So I'm really, really excited about this one. For the listeners who are listening to the show, this is your host in Low Style, and this is Beyond Cliché. It's a show where we discover journeys of people that have broken gender stereotypes, more beyond cliches, who've chosen the path less traveled. I am a speaker, author, coach, and I am running a campaign called #TurnOffTheStereo, where I create awareness on gender stereotypes. I also have a petition on change.org where I'm asking a leading diaper company to add the father's image along with the mother's on the diaper wrapper to send out the message for equal parenting. If you believe in my cause, please go to www.change.org/PapaPampers2. So today in the studio, I have a musician. And I'm not going to refer to her as a female musician, which is such a cliche. So I have with me a musician, and we want to discover what her journey has been in discovering her talent and choosing her journey. So Kamakshi, you come from a background where your maternal grandmother, your mother and sister all had a flair for singing. But you were the first woman from the family to make a career in music. So tell us more about your childhood as a girl who had this talent discovered by her teacher. What's your story?
So yeah, music and we go a very, very long way back. The first time I ever sang was when I was 11. And I really thought singing was something that you do in your bathroom for fun when no one is watching.
Right.
My purpose was never to sing in front of people. But I was very lucky to have a very encouraging teacher and a very encouraging group of friends and family as well, who were like, hey, you're good, you should sing more. Why don't you sing at this party? Why don't you sing here? Why don't you sing in class? You know, slowly I started putting myself out there. And yeah, I do come from a family full of people who are such great singers. Somehow only the women in our family, the guys just don't have the hair for it. But my nani used to sing a lot. She used to sing at a lot of bhajans, at all the spiritual events. My mother had a band in school. She studied in Bhatkane Music Vidyalaya. My sister was actually the first one who got discovered as a singer in my family. She was we had a thing called music captain, which was kind of like the president of the music society in school.
Wow. Okay.
So she was the president of the music society before me, and I was like, wow, one day I want to sing like my sister, you know. And then turns out when I did get into it, I just kind of got so pulled into music that my life became about that. And then I followed foot and became the president of my music society, just like my sister. We won the same award.
Wow.
Sang together for so many years, but somehow she didn't really choose music as a profession because her other passion was graphic design and art. So very multifaceted person. So yeah, she could have easily, taken it up as a career, but I was the only one in my family who was like, I want to do this and I want to do this independently. And in fact, when I was in college is when I realized that I want to do music and decided to not sit for any placements whatsoever, decided to not do a master's degree. A year, it was supposed to be a year off, where I just release my music and see where that takes me. But that year off became my life till now, which is now I'm 27. So it's been a journey of like doing music professionally for at least 8 years, which
Wow.
I've just had a very supportive family and group of friends who've encouraged me along the way and people I've been able to work with. So
yeah, in fact, when you were talking about your childhood, I realized that there was enough and more support within the family, and you had enough inspiration, right from, like you said, your nanny to your mom to your sister. But really, how many girls do you think would have that kind of inspiration back home in let's say, our country, where there's a talent that they have, but they really want to pursue it? What do you think is the situation with girls that want to pursue music as a career?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So, singing, I feel like is still regarded as a very feminine thing, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like when you think about singing, and it's basically expressing your emotions, and people think of that caring, nurturing, having that kind of a voice is a very feminine activity.
Right.
In fact, like if you see,
in fact, Lata Mangeshkar, for her to be called the Nightingale of India, is like the pride. It's a matter of pride, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the act of singing, like it's not like I play an instrument that is, like I play the bass or play the drums, which are generally associated to not being as feminine, which is, like obviously it's just changing over time. Singing is a very feminine thing to do. So there are two kinds of people, I feel, who may not be as supportive as encouraging, but in a very understated way. One is people who are like, oh, she's doing music, but she's a woman, she will get married someday. She doesn't really have to worry about the financial aspect of getting her life together. She doesn't have to worry. And I do have people, not in my immediate family, but outside of it, who I know view me doing this as a career in that light, that, oh, it's okay. She doesn't have to worry. She doesn't have to hold the family together, which is very problematic. Which is a stereotype that I always try and break. And I've literally heard a lot of people say that to my face, that, yeah, one day you'll settle down, you can just marry someone really well off, and on the side you can keep doing music. But that's not how I view it. I view it as like I'm really passionate about it, and it's something I really want to grow in and sustain myself and live all my dreams in, by doing this. So that's one problematic stereotype that I've come across. And another one is obviously that, oh, you're roaming around, you're traveling all the time, you're doing these, putting yourself out there on stage, and I perform alone a lot.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so like one thing I do is travel with all my instruments, which is also really heavy. I'll be carrying like a keyboard on my back, a guitar in front, case on my right hand, which has my sound card, my processor, and on the left I'll have this ukulele, and like most of the times I don't have a guy ever helping me out doing all of that and just traveling. So I think that as much as it's been a back-breaking, literally, adventure, I feel like that's also something that makes me feel like I'm doing something that I wasn't really expected to do as a woman, like a lot of people just expect, and I'm not saying that, just carrying yourself for a gig and singing is not as empowering. It's just one of those things where I feel like this whole journey of being a musician has been, for me, like really figuring out how to do things on my own. Like kind of my whole process has been so DIY, and so I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a mother and a sister who encouraged me at every step of the way, I feel. So I feel like breaking stereotypes is something that starts at home. If you see family breaking stereotypes all the time, and my mom has broken all stereotypes. Like I could talk and talk and talk about her. She runs her own PR company, Good Word Media Private Limited. She runs this amazing venture called Royal Fables, which gets royal, it revives royal regal art and the heritage of our country. So she is actually the boss lady in our house. Like the reason I get up and do my thing is because I see her doing her thing every day. Like even now, like she runs a company, but because, like the number of employees she has is less, she's now learning how to design posters and graphic design, like starting from scratch. So she's this very enterprising, strong woman who has 3 children and is also a amazing, like powerhouse of a mother. So yeah, that's been my life. I've just been lucky to be surrounded by women, not just my family, but even my friends who have broken so many stereotypes. So yeah.
How amazing is that? While you were talking, I was kind of reflecting on if there is a man, okay, that wants to pursue a music career. Like in your case, you told me that there are some people that would say that ultimately to tum shadi kar logi, you had this happening side. I think if there's a boy, he's usually told, why don't you pick up a stable job and maybe do this gig on the side? So,
exactly.
Somewhere we have stereotypes attached to this profession overall. We sometimes don't take this profession, like you said, as a stable career. And then it has these stereotypes played out with both genders differently.
Yeah.
But you've been literally, like you said, touring the world. I mean, you've done so many NH7 Weekenders, MTV, MLDs. You've done some solo US tours. So you've done like a whole lot of stuff. And on the stage as well, you're this solo woman with this interesting processor and looper that you have. What do you call it?
It's a vocal press right here, actually.
Okay, and what is it called?
It's called TC Helicon Voice Live Touch 2. So you can kind of loop your voice and do like layer up your voice, and not just your voice, your instruments and everything. Well, it's been a while since I've used this actually for a live gig, but it's a really fun little toy to have.
So, when we think of a girl singing, we're really thinking, like you said, about somebody in a choir or somebody that's got this feminine nurturing voice singing. But for a woman to use these complex instruments, play a couple of instruments and then put this act together is something that we don't see often, especially in our country. I'm sure things are changing now. But how much is the change really? Are there a lot of women doing what you're doing now? What are the challenges that you face?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like there's so many women playing instruments so well. And it's kind of, again, like you'll find people who'll comment on your videos and say things like, wow, a woman playing instrument, multiple instruments, it's blowing my mind. And I'm just like, that's the problem, that it becomes more about the woman that you are and less about what you're doing. Wow, a woman with technology. Like a lot of people give attention to that just because you're a woman. And all you want is to be seen for your skill and for what you do and the work that you put in, and not the fact that you're a woman. As you said, I love that you started with like, I'm not going to introduce her as a female musician, because that's what you hear. You're like, we want an all-girls band. We want a girl who plays instruments. We want this. But there are also other kind of stereotypes that, a lot of times, because people in general find women more physically appealing, in my experience, when it comes to concerts and everything. Like you'll have gigs which you've gotten because they wanted female band leader, and that's when those are the pros. So now I see it like, okay, fine, like we've suffered so much. Like I wouldn't say I have, but like women over the years have struggled so much to really be able to be in a place where you can do whatever you want and you can dive into different professions. So I just see it as an advantage rather than, question it too much. But yeah, one of the things that I really look forward to is that one day you see a woman playing whatever instrument, making whatever kind of music, doing hip hop, doing like being a DJ, and you just see, wow, that's a good DJ. Like not, wow, that's a great female.
You don't really attach gender to the profession.
Yeah, that's when we'll be equal, when you find two people who maybe have the similar kind of talent and the similar kind of skill, and just don't compare them because of their genders, but because of what they do, because of the art that they do. So yeah, like I've been in situations which are small, like it's not a big deal, but they still, like, the back of my head probably leave a negative impact, which is you'll find men, who will be the sound engineers of a gig and be like, oh, let me do this, you can't do that. Oh, let me pick it up, let me do this, which is that, like, there's a difference between trying to help you and kind of trying to show you your place, that, this is...
Yeah, question your ability, probably.
Yeah, your ability. In a very condescending way that I think that's something women, wherever, I don't know if you relate, but like you could be your own band leader, you could be someone who runs a company, but you will always somehow have this one man who will explain what you do to you, like so many times. And, I've been at gigs where I'm fine. I'm not the most technologically sound musician. I agree. Like I'm more about the live stuff, but I was having an issue with my mic, and I was trying to explain to the sound engineer that he needs to EQ it better. And he literally didn't speak to me, to my face, went to my guitarist and said, in ladies, लोग को मतलब EQ नहीं समझ आता, तुम मुझे बताओ.
He actually said that.
He said that. And I was stumped. Like, I was just like, oh my God, and that's what inspired me to go back home that day and research about EQing. And but at the same time, it sucks that that's what people think. Women and technology are not, they can't be best friends, or like the fact that I maybe could have sucked at EQing was probably because I just suck at EQing. I didn't know enough.
Absolutely.
Not because
and had it been a boy, that didn't know about this, this entire stereotyping wouldn't have been done. So there's just so much to explore, Kamakshi. We're going to take a short break right here. We're in conversation with a musician who's got real talent and she's rocking the stage. And this conversation is going great on Beyond Cliché. I'll see you after a short break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another amazing week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So another really fun week on the network. I don't know if you saw this, but Varun Thakur was on Advertising is Dead. That was a really, really fun episode. Besides that, we've had some great guests all over the place. We had Ram Madhvani on Cyrus Says. We had Saurav Mukherjee, a legend in the finance space. He was on Paisa Vaisa. He and Anupam have co-written a book, so definitely do check out that episode and go buy their book too. I mean, that would be another great thing to do. Uncle Pleasted had a really, really cool episode with hosts of our other show, Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Anirudh and Janice. They were talking about celebrity culture and how that's progressed for the last few years. And yeah, it's just been a really, really great week. One episode I do want to shout out. A couple of weeks ago, Pulyabazi did an episode which was just amazing. They were talking about the letters between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Do check those out. Those were really good. But with that, let me get you back to your show.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Cliché. This is Almas. I'm a speaker, author, coach, changemaker. And I'd like to talk about this concept of why boys are boys and girls are girls. I think a lot of it stems from the way we have stereotypical roles defined at a very tender age. And joining me today is a girl who's chosen a profession which is highly male-dominated. And we're trying to understand the challenges that women face when they want to sort of pursue their talent in the music industry. I have with me in this virtual studio, Kamaskshi Khanna. She is somebody who is not only a songwriter and a lyricist, but she also composes her own music and sings it. So, she is an all-in-one combined package. She's got this beautiful voice where she's creating raw, organic songs and tunes, playing R&B, soul, pop. She's got a very, very versatile voice, and she's quite solo in whatever she does. So we were talking about the challenges that a musician who's a woman faces. The first challenge is she's referred to as a female musician, and that's really a stereotype. And then the technical aspect of her knowledge is always questioned or tested. It's like the stereotype of ladkiyan gaadi nahi chala sakti ya ladkiyan finance अच्छे से नहीं manage कर सकती. So what are some of the other challenges, Kamakshi, that a woman that is probably on stage or trying to make music in this industry would face?
I think one thing absolutely is safety. Mm-hmm. The number of times I've been alone at a gig in a room full of people who, some of them may make me uncomfortable, it's a really unsettling feeling when all you're trying to do is do your job. Like, yes, you want people to enjoy your music, you want people to, vibe with you, but at the same time, it's a little scary sometimes when you're all alone and the center of attention in a room where you may not know enough people. And I've been in those situations where, and also I perform independent music. So the kind of audience that I perform to is really, I would say, you know, like I'll always bump into someone who's a friend or who's not. But I know I've been in situations where if not me, then my family has been a little worried about me. I was actually touring with a band, Euphoria, for 2 years of my life. And I was traveling.
That was an important part of your life where you were the backup singer with them and you learned a lot with them as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I was touring with them, sometimes to cities that my parents had never heard of, like coming back at odd hours, like 5 a.m., 4 a.m. So that's always been a little bit of a question mark. Then when will I actually feel safe? Like even if nothing happens, like as a woman just going on stage, dressing however I want, doing whatever I want, singing about my feelings, when will I really, it might feel great, but do I completely feel safe? And the answer to that is no, because of the horrible stories that you hear all the time about just generally women not feeling safe. So going that extra step and performing and being the center of attention is always a little, bit of a challenge for me. So, yeah.
I have another question, Kamakshi. I'm just thinking that there is a male musician, a musician who's a man, who's on stage, an artist. How much does he bother about the way he looks as compared to a woman that goes on stage? Do you have to really dress up and, do you have a stylist? And what goes into the making of an artist, a woman artist on stage?
Yeah, that's always, that to be honest, before gigs, because my setup sometimes, at least nowadays when I do my setup with all my gear, it takes as much time, if not more, than all my bandmates to check, because I have to check 3 instruments. I have to check my processor, check my mic, check my in-ears. So it's like a really long process. But then, the way guys just go backstage and they're like, I always joke about it, but, they'll be like, yeah, okay, we have 5 minutes, cool, I'm ready, I just have to change my t-shirt. And I'll be like, no, man, I gotta do my makeup, I gotta wear the clothes, I have to do my hair, I have to do this, which I honestly enjoy so much. It's not like I'm complaining about it, but it's really funny to see that after doing all of that setup, I still have like those, and a lot of people just won't sometimes understand that need, that I want to look good, because I feel like that's kind of, sometimes it's like, oh my God, can I just wear my pajamas and t-shirt and like have my hair in a bun and go on stage? But I do think that it's important to just feel a little better than you genuinely feel about yourself, and just dressing up sometimes just helps with that, and kind of showcasing the more, like maybe the better version of yourself in that aspect, like where you feel a little more confident and all of those things. That's how it works.
Feeling better, feeling confident in doing it because you feel like is a different thing altogether. But I'm trying to understand a stereotype, because as an audience, I have always seen very well-dressed women artists on stage. And it's just an expectation that if there is a woman artist, she's going to look good, she's going to be dressed up well, all of that. And I'm just thinking, to an artist, it could be an added pressure. An artist who's a woman.
Sometimes it is, it is, for sure. Especially like so indie gigs, honestly, I feel very comfortable with whatever I wear, because then I'm more experimental with what I could wear, and I feel like it's another way of me expressing myself. But honestly, a lot of these corporate gigs, they literally message you and say like, hey, can you please send an outfit? What outfit? I might be making a big mistake by talking about this. They'd be like, oh, actually, can you wear a gown? Yeah, we are thinking a red gown because, that's the theme, the color theme. But for guys, they'll be like formals, But for you, they'll have to see your clothing. They'll have to see what you're wearing. And I always end up wearing heels and like this fancy thing with fancy earrings. And sometimes I just wish I could just be a little more comfortable. But at the same time, it's like any other job in that moment, right? Because when you're going for a formal event or you're presenting something, you do want to dress up formally. So, but yeah, definitely women have a lot more pressure. Even if nobody tells you straight up that, oh, you need to look amazing. There is that pressure and that expectation that comes. And then under that pressure, I know I've kind of succumbed to it. And I don't think I'd feel comfortable just going on stage without makeup. Like, I don't think I can do that yet. I mean, just because of that, and I wonder always, I question, where does that feeling come from? Like,
I think it's just so much wiring and conditioning that we go through as we're growing up, right? It's just the thing. We see it on TV, we see it in magazines, we see it. It's just there. It's just there, isn't it?
It's there, definitely. Yeah.
Right. So I have another question, Kamakshi, and this is more from a career standpoint. So the way the industry is evolving today, the music industry, what about the ratio of opportunity? Do you think there is equal opportunity for a woman who's trying to make her mark here, or does she have to push harder as compared to men? Do you think it's fair, or there's a bias? What do you think?
See, if you really go into the numbers, the fact is, you look at independent music festivals, or you look at the number of playback singers, there is more work for men. There are more work. There are more men doing the work. And
because there are more men in the space, or because it's just more...
I think it's both. Like, it's a combination of both. Like, as you said, a woman just saying, I'm going to do this as a profession can sometimes be... and really dive in, not like just be, doing it on the side or something, but really dive into the profession and all the hardships and all the commitments and prioritizing the profession over and above everything else, including family, including your stable job or whatever, it is not as common in my experience. And in terms of, if you look up the stats and everything, like, I think recently there was a festival where a lot of women spoke up about, I'm not sure I remember which one, but like about why wasn't there a single headliner which was female? And that made me think, I was like, but should you get a headliner because she's a woman? Shouldn't you get a headliner because she's great, Exactly. But at the same time, I was like, but maybe there's a deep down, so it's a very complicated, I can't have a very simple answer like, no, we don't have enough opportunities, because personally, I've been very lucky. I've never not gotten something because I'm a woman. So I can't really answer that question for everybody, but there are so many things that are so deep-rooted in us that we don't even question them. Like, like maybe there wasn't a single headliner because women are not given enough opportunities, or that big, in that bigger space, So, but yeah, at the same time, I think we're coming around. And even the independent scene right now, if I really think about it, I can't think of enough women who are at the top somehow. Like, I just can't, like, and I don't know, like, I don't want to say that it's because we're women, but maybe there is something that's, there's some kind of conditioning. And we find that, like, we find that in our daily lives when someone gives a guy some job over a girl, and you're like, but why there's very small little signs, what you said, when we spoke over the phone, like about blue and pink, that's where it begins.
Right.
So I feel like there's lots of blues and pinks in the way we approach situations professionally, which sometimes we ourselves contribute to. Like, we ourselves go like, oh yeah, but wait, no. Like, and then you question it in that second. So
I'll give you an example. So if you go to a toy store, you will mostly see that the actual guitar, the musical guitar is usually placed in the boys section. Okay, they have started keeping these fancy pink Barbie guitars and pianos. Again, they are pink and Barbie-like in the girl section. But your brown authentic guitar, you will usually find it in the boys section. It's usually given as a gift to a boy rather than a girl. लड़की को piano देंगे, guitar नहीं देंगे. This is just
and that comes from this whole, stereotype about men are physically stronger, which could be true, but like they are physically stronger. But
you won't find drum kits in the girls' toy section as much.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And like even something like the guitar takes some physical strength to do it, right? So I feel like it comes from that whole thing that, women can't do it because, takes a lot more strength. So that's a deep-rooted belief, the core belief that we all, grow up being conditioned to, like always be exposed to information that tells us that. Even like Bollywood, I feel like Bollywood, unfortunately, has been such a huge, contributor to how we think, like without realizing, like how at least...
You don't want to be known as a Bollywood musician or a singer, right? You want to sort of do stuff independently.
So there's this one article that's out, which is totally flawed in terms of the way it's been written. It says, my dream is not to be in Bollywood, which is not true. Like, I really love a lot of Bollywood music and I would love to be a part of it. And as a musician, I think for me, it's about really branching out into all the different kinds of industries and all the different kind of things I can do. So there's no such thing. But what I mean is that even in Bollywood, you'll always find the guy swooning and like, trying to woo the girl with the guitar.
Yeah.
But these little things, like that's why when you see a guy, one example, when you see a woman singing a song about her feelings, you're like, okay, yeah, she's probably talking about her feelings. Wow. No big, like nothing new, right? Because that's what we expect. We expect women to be a lot more expressive about their feelings. But the minute a man talks about how someone broke his heart or like, you'll see the way people respond that, oh my God, he's so vulnerable. He's so...
Yeah, and not only that, the whole chocolate boy image also has a guy with a guitar and you're like, oh my God, he plays the guitar.
He has feelings. A man with feelings. Oh my God, how? But at the same time, I've seen that. Like with women, like she could be singing about her feelings and people don't always respond with the same kind of... They don't put that on a pedestal as much. And this is my opinion. I could be wrong about it. But woman playing the guitar and singing about her feelings or playing the piano, expected. Man doing that, wow. He's got such a big heart. He's so warm. He's so vulnerable. He's, and all of those things, because that's not what you expect. Same thing that, guys don't cry. That whole stereotype, it comes from there because just like crying, singing about your feelings that might be hard to talk about is also an expression, a way of expressing yourself.
Right. So, and the point really here is for all of you listening to this episode, music is just music. And emotions are just emotions.
Exactly.
It's got nothing to do with gender. Yeah? These are just stereotypes that human beings have created, and they're really not serving us. There are so many women listening to this show, I'm sure, who would like to pursue music as a career, and we have an inspiration in the form of Kamakshi telling us that music is just music. So, Kamakshi, for anyone who's listening to this and sort of is wondering, how do I push the boundaries and make this a career, what would you suggest to them? I'm talking about the women folk that probably are finding it difficult to find their feet in this space.
Yeah, definitely. I think surround yourself with people who break some kind of stereotypes for you. I feel that's where it starts, like making the right kind of connections and being with people who inspire you, no matter what you do. I think that's a great starting point. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. The industry, I will say, has grown so much and has given so much space to women to be themselves, to express themselves. And unique is now the new thing, to be yourself. I know it sounds like the biggest cliche on a show about beyond cliches, but it's true, now more than ever, people really want to see authenticity. People really want to see who you are, what your story is, where you come from, why are you different from so many people. And each and every person has an authentic self. And to find a space that encourages that, and to find both women and men who encourage that, because having men who are, like, I'll give you an example, like one of my friends and guitarist, Pranav Pava, he's always the one who will tell me, okay, this doesn't look good, you should wear that. Or he'll be way more like particular about how he looks on stage. But he's also kind of like my gal pal who I can be like, listen, is my eyeliner a little weird? And he'll take me backstage and be like, you need to fix that. So, there are people who will help you question how you see things and how you view your career and what you do. And those are the people who are worth really, really like sticking around with. And whenever you feel like someone's questioning your abilities as a woman, I think either question it or just walk away from those situations because, it's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well put all your energy in your passion, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because that just restricts you, just restricts your flow a little bit. So if you ever feel like, okay, this is not a space where I feel comfortable, just really question it and go for it, or just walk away, because there'll be some other place that will accept you for who you are and, want to know what you have to offer as an artist always. So Yeah.
Lovely. Kamakshi, you've also done a lot of work abroad. So you've also done a solo tour in the US. What do you think is the space for women artists over there? Like when you were on stage there, how did the audience perceive you as compared to when you were in India? Or what was the general feel of the people that were organizing the event? Is there a difference in the way women musicians, I hate to use that term, but women, artists that are women, how are they viewed differently abroad as compared to India?
I'll be honest, I don't think I have enough experience to draw a real comparison.
Whatever time you spend.
Yeah. Like, I would say that it was a great experience, and I didn't really feel like there was anything different in terms of me being a female musician, but I did feel like the listening culture was a lot better. Like the way people would listen at a solo gig, the amount of noise that you hear, and just the people responding was a lot better, because that culture of listening to music is a lot stronger there than over here. Like people go out, but people always end up talking, or people always, they're not as, but things are obviously changing now. Like now independent gigs are becoming really, really nice and really great.
The reason I asked you is because if you look at the culture abroad, you'll find a Madonna and the likes of Madonna with kids. They're managing kids' home, and they're also performing on stage. And that truly is the power of an artist or a woman that's an artist. She can do both. Why not? Absolutely. And that would be quite unheard of in India. I think we have a long way to go to reach there.
Yeah, absolutely. If I really compare in the larger scheme of things and not like my experience per se, then definitely I feel like I just hope this mentality of like, now she's married, now she has a baby, now this is her life, like just changes, because that'll encourage. I think a lot of people don't end up getting married because of that. Like a lot of people don't end up getting married or have children because they're so afraid that that's the end, and that's the end of their career, because that's what so many people just drill into you, and that's what people condition you to believe over like, your entire life growing up. So, Madonna is a great example.
Yeah, so when I was trying to draw a parallel, while I was researching for this episode, I couldn't draw one in India.
So like Sunidhi Chauhan, I would say, like she's someone who's like the first person I can think of as a pop star of that caliber, She has a baby, and she's someone who I look up to and be like, okay, she has a kid and she's doing her thing. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's not as easy, There's a lot of conditioning, and there's a lot of pressure, not just from society, but the pressure that a lot of women go through at home that we know nothing about. That's why when we see a woman doing her thing and being herself, like, there should always be that little bit of empathy that, okay, there's something that's taken her to get where she is right now. There's some fighting she's had to do, some struggling, some always. It's such a given that sometimes we only don't realize that, oh shit, this is a stereotype I've actually battled with, because we hear so much worse. We hear so much from everybody, around us. So, I feel like as people who consume content and people who go and support women in all kinds of artists, all kinds of professionals who are women, it's not easy for a woman to really, really put everything into her work with the kind of stereotypes and the kind of expectations that the society and their family members can have from them.
There are so many battles for a woman in so many spaces, right? Outside, like you said, this angle of safety, how to be perceived. Some of them are subtle, some of them are in your face, some of them are tangible, intangible, pay parity. There's just so much, right? But despite that, there are people like you that are standing up to say that this is my talent, this is my passion, this is what I want to pursue, and it's got nothing to do with my gender, right?
Yes.
What a pleasure it has been to have you on this show, Kamakshi.
Thank you so much.
People that are listening to the show and want to connect with you, where do we find you on Instagram or Twitter? Where are you?
My Instagram is Kamaskshi Khanna Music. Twitter is Kamakshi Music. And you can listen to my music on YouTube and also Spotify. I'm going to be releasing a song actually in September, which is all about self-love. And it's about along very similar lines. It's about someone going through different relationships and finding a little bit of herself and leaving a little bit of herself behind in each one. And then finally loving herself for who she grows into being through those relationships with men.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one, for sure. I have been listening to your music all day today. And you really, like you mentioned in some of your interviews, you truly are an old soul. I could so connect with you. I think everything is a reflection of your life and the life and experiences of people around. So that's a deep thinker for you. If you like music that will get you to think and feel good and connect and heal, that's what she says, music heals her and others. Please do tune into her music. It's fabulous. I think she has some great talent there. That's like real good, raw, organic talent. Beautiful voice. Do tune into her music, and please do tune into this episode and many other episodes on the IVM podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find me pretty much everywhere on social media. I'm on Instagram, almasvirani_1111. On Twitter, I'm at almasvirani11. I also have a Facebook page by the same name, and do sign my petition, www.change.org/PapaPampers2. I'm going to be back again with yet another interesting personality that's broken stereotypes in the next episode of Beyond Cliché. Till then, Kamakshi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Pleasure is mine too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in another episode. Ta-da, bye-bye, stay safe, take care.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल.
Presenting Football Shortball, a show about three friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes three, maybe even five. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my two sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthik Iyer.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Ha! Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Iyer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumors, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Shootball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.